Katé,
And Natalia, and
you're watching Disney Channel. Psych! Sorry, guys, you are not watching Disney Channel. You're actually listening to the Bandwagon Fan, our little podcast about all things pop culture and in the now and in the know.
Yeah, sorry it's not as interesting as maybe the real Disney Channel,
mhm.
but can you even watch Disney Channel anymore? Or is it just Disney Plus now?
I think Disney Channel might exist, but it would be on cable television. And the weird thing is that almost everyone just uses streaming now. And it's funny we're talking about this because this past weekend I actually was staying with some family friends for a little bit, and I'm not kidding you, I'm dead serious, did not own a single streaming service.
Wow.
And so
That's
they only had cable
impressive.
television. It was weird. It was very weird to like watch TV and have like actual commercials or like we watched Beetlejuice the movie one night and it was like you're watching the movie and then there would just be like long commercial breaks and it was like, "Oh, this sucks. I understand now why they created streaming."
No, that's the thing. Like when I'm watching Hulu and there's like a 2-minute ad break, I'm like, oh my god, this is so long.
It
But
feels
then when you
forever.
watch live TV, you're like, wait, this is an actual eternity, and 2 minutes is generous.
Yes, no, seriously, I agree because yeah, Hulu, I'm like you. Well, I mean, I use your Hulu as you know, but I get it. Yeah, Hulu, when every now and then they'll do like the 30-second ad and you're like, whew, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Hulu. But then sometimes they'll do the 2-minute ones and you're like, are you serious? But yeah, when I was watching like actual cable television this weekend, the commercials are like 5 minutes long and you're just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't believe we actually all put up with this for like a very long time. And our little intro, by the way, is for anybody who would be like, I don't know, millennial to Gen Z will probably get our little Disney intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, young
But people
millennials. I don't know if
really
older.
watch Disney, but they probably didn't have the intros.
Yeah, I don't know when they started that, but that's one of the best parts of Disney. And there's a really funny YouTube video you can watch where somebody got the footage of the Disney stars doing their You're Watching Disney Channel videos, but without the green screen. So it's just like these awkward videos of like different early
Oh
2000s
yeah, I've
celebrities.
seen those like bloopers where like they'll have to redo it and stuff.
Hmm. Just the bloopers. I have a quick little joke for you, Natalia.
Oh, let's go.
How do you get a tissue to dance?
Oh, I actually know this one.
You do? Dang it.
You put a little boogie in it.
Ah, dang it. Ah,
It's a
dang
good
it.
joke.
I'm gonna have to think of a better one.
Hopefully you made someone listening laugh.
Yeah, Talia got it. She got the punchline.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Do you want to tell another joke? And you
I
can have it this
honestly,
time?
the only other joke that I have that I keep in my back pocket, it's kind of a stupid joke that I got from Tina Fey. Not like personally, but
I didn't, that wasn't where my assumption went.
mine did. And I was like, no, silly, you don't know her. I read it like in a magazine once when I was a teenager. Like honestly, it was when they had Cosmo Girl, which was basically 17 but a little more racy.
Oh,
It was like a subsect of Cosmopolitan, but it's like Tina Fey had this joke, and she was like, two peanuts are walking down the street. One was assaulted.
that is so corny. That's why I laughed. I did not think it was. Oh my god.
It's like so stupid, but all right. Well, next time we record together, I'm gonna think of a better joke and see if you know it.
Maybe
Um,
that'll be our thing. Like we'll open each episode with a joke.
yeah, honestly, and then so listeners, you have something to look forward to. You get to listen to our corny jokes,
Unless that's something you wouldn't look forward to.
which
Let us know.
let us
We,
know.
if we're not comedians, you can put us in our place. We can
I
take
think you know what we should do. We should put it on an Instagram as a poll and do like, should
Do
Natalia and
you think
Kate,
we're funny?
do you think we're funny? Yes or no? And should we continue corny jokes? Yes or no? Please be nice. Please.
Well,
Um,
people don't respond to our polls. That's something.
well, maybe not yet. Maybe this is the one they've been waiting for.
Okay.
And so, speaking of what we've been waiting for, I'm dying to know, Natalia, what have you been up to? What have you done recently?
Well, I found myself back in the old movie theater,
You're
seeing
Charlie Chaplin.
seeing a movie on the silver screen or the big screen.
They're
Wait,
both they're both great, big
is
and
it
silver.
the silver screen is TV, right? And then the big screen is a movie.
Oh, I don't know. I thought silver screen was also cinema.
I have no idea. But anyways, guys, I saw a movie last night
Hmm.
and it was Don't Worry Darling. I know that I'm quite late to the game, but I figured, we've talked a bit about Harry Styles on this podcast and all of the drama and mythology surrounding him, like
Hmm.
just the Harry Styles brand and all of his weird endeavors. So it only seemed right that to close our Harry Styles saga to watch this movie and tell you guys what we thought.
Yeah, no, I think you're kind of right. This is really almost like a trilogy of Harry Styles stuff because Natalia and I did an episode 37, One Toe Left in the Harry Styles Door, where we talked more about his music um, and a little bit about his acting career. And then Natalia and Alex did an episode 41, Shia's Wild Weekend, where they covered more of the drama that was kind of, has, like Natalia said, the drama and mythology going around this film. And now we've come to our third installment, I'd say, of talking about kind of things in the Harry Styles universe. Um,
Yeah,
and
I would
this is
say that I like kind of didn't really want to see this movie because of Harry Styles, but it
mm,
definitely like I would be lying if I said that wasn't the reason that it was on my radar
mhm,
initially. Like
mhm,
I've never cared about a movie like when they announce like this script got picked up by this studio and they cast
mhm,
this these people. Like I've never been that early to anything
mhm.
before.
Oh no, I was gonna say most movies, it's rare that I would know or hear anything about it until a trailer comes out. It's usually a
Yeah,
trailer
same.
comes out and then I'm interested and invested and I go, "Oh, this looks really good." But yeah, I feel like because of Harry Styles, like I feel like we can't deny neither of us and probably so many other people who've seen it that the only reason you really were following along was because of that Harry Styles was going to be in. That was big news.
Yeah. I think this movie had a lot of things about it that grabbed people's attention and made people interested in it. And like the anticipation just kept building because like more and more stuff was happening. Like I don't think
Mhm.
we have to tell anybody. Like there was drama, a lot of drama regarding the behind the scenes of this movie. And if you don't know about it, like Catherine said, you can go back and listen to our previous episodes about it, but it's
Mhm.
extensive. So, like,
Mhm.
there was a lot going on, and so lots of time for people to get thinking about this movie, get excited for it.
Mhm.
Almost, it was definitely on the verge of maybe getting too overhyped. Like,
Yeah.
because
But
that's the
also a
thing,
lot of
like,
negative hype.
yeah, well, yeah. It wasn't great attention. It was,
I
not
think the drama
expected.
definitely gave a lot of gave it a lot of negative um
It was kind
what's
of
the
like
word?
a cloud over the movie, dark
Mhm.
cloud.
Yeah. But we today are not going to talk so much about the drama. We
Right.
really want to talk about the actual movie because Natalia and I both have seen it now and we have a lot of thoughts about it and again, like this is a great way to close out kind of everything that's gone on with this film, the drama stuff. But then also, how good is it to finally actually get to talk about the movie? Um, and so, first, with a little bit of background info, I think a lot of the kind of like casting and announcements of that this was going to be made was back in early 2020, and then filming was 2021.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that a lot of it was filmed actually in Palm Springs, California, which, funny enough, Natalia and I went there a few years ago. And I don't know, Natalia, did you, when the movie started and there were certain scenes, did you ever feel like, oh my God, that's Palm Springs? Like, did it ever hit you?
Oh yeah, it was obvious, like right away, just like visually. And that was actually something that I wanted to touch on. Like when the movie started and like the whole movie, the trailer, all of it, like I was like there was nothing that made me think we weren't in Palm Springs. I
Mm,
thought we were just maybe possibly in like some fictionalized version of Palm Springs, maybe that had an experiment going on at it. But like I
hmm
still thought it was like Palm Springs,
hmm
just a
That's,
little different than how it actually was in the 50s.
hmm
But I had
it's
no reason to believe that it was anything but.
Well, it's funny because you and I have been there, and I saw it with a friend of mine who's a New York City native, and she's never really been to the West Coast at all. So for her, she's like, it just looked like a place. Like, she didn't even know. And I was like, this looks exactly like Palm Springs.
Mm.
It's in a desert, and there's palm trees and a lot of one level, one story homes that are
I
all
just
like
thought
kind of.
everyone knew what Palm Springs like. I thought everyone knew it was known for those houses, but maybe it's not as common knowledge as I thought.
I think it is what it's known for, those architectural designs by the people that actually have been there or know about Palm Springs. But it is interesting. There's a lot of other people in other parts of the US where if they've never really been out west and they've never specifically seen pictures of a place, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder what's like in their mind to be like, oh, that's just a place. Whereas like
Interesting.
my mind right away was like, oh, that looks exactly like Palm Springs. And then I found out afterwards, like, yes, it was filmed there.
Well, it's
Um,
interesting you bring that up because I feel like that would really have a big influence on the viewing experience. Like, because for me, I like didn't assume anything was different than what I was being shown, but
mhm.
somebody who didn't think it was Palm Springs would be watching this movie through a totally different lens.
Oh, yeah, true. They might have seen it as just some utopia. Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's just like a utopia world. It's sunny and there's palm trees.
yeah, like not a real place.
Yeah, not a real place. And I mean, honestly, yeah, like I think that choosing that as the set location to kind of look like a quote, like we said, a not a real place, a utopia, works because that's kind of what this place is supposed to be in this film. Um, and So this movie, I'm just gonna go over really quick. It stars
Oh, wait,
Florence.
I guess we didn't say this, but we're gonna give spoilers in this episode.
Oh
Like,
yes,
we're gonna talk about what happens in the movie, so I really recommend if you haven't seen this movie going and watching it because I think it is worth not spoiling it for yourself.
yeah, no, I think so too. Well, you know what? I didn't tell you this in advance, Natalia, but I'm going to tell you this right now. I actually did read some spoilers before I saw the movie, and then I still went and saw the movie, and I still felt like I had a good amount of like surprise, and it was still interesting. So I do agree with you. Like, if you can hold off from spoilers, don't listen to this episode yet until you've seen the movie. But also, I think that if you were to listen to this or you read an article and you think, oh gosh, I already know now what happens, I think you could still go see it and be pleasantly surprised and enjoy the movie, And for the fact that I knew some spoilers going into the movie, there were still scenes that I hadn't seen yet, because it's like a trailer only shows so much. There's still so much to the movie that I was new to me and I wasn't expecting. Um, but so yeah, so yes, there are spoilers. And as a little quick recap, this movie was directed by Olivia Wilde, her second film, directorial film. Then it stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Chris Pine, and then I would say Olivia Wilde and Nick Kroll are both kind of like equal levels of supporting characters in this. Um,
You say Gemma Chan?
and I didn't say Gemma Chan, but her as well. I don't really know her from anything else other than this movie. And she also doesn't have much of a
She was in Crazy Rich
scene.
Asians, but I only saw that movie once when it was in theaters, so I don't really remember like what her role was.
Okay. I feel like I remember her in that movie a little bit. Crazy Rich Asians. Um, that's another interesting movie. Um, but so I think I'm just gonna start with kind of the opening. So, like Natalia and I was saying, it's filmed in Palm Springs, but in the movie, it's not called Palm Springs. We are in 1950s and a place just called the Victory Project. It's like a housing development. All the houses look perfect, the lawns are perfect, the palm trees are all manicured, and the movie actually opens right up and it's some of our main characters having just this crazy little drunk house party. And forgive me, I'm so sorry for yawning. It's a little late over here in New York. Um, See, I need to hang out with these people in this movie because these people
You
are
need
like,
hugs, you need uppers.
I need uppers because first scene of this movie, our characters are on some uppers or something. And I think that they nailed that in this movie. They really gave off the vibe of like it's the 1950s, like people like drinking, doing drugs, but super happy, and everyone at nighttime is a different person, but during the daytime, it is like the wives are perfect housewives and the men are perfect breadwinners and going off to work all day. And that's kind of the beginning of this film, really. It's we're setting the scene with a lot of scenes like that. A lot of scenes of our main character Alice, played by Florence Pugh, cleaning the house, cooking breakfast, packing lunch for her husband Jack, who's Harry Styles, and they just seem so in love, and it just seems like this perfect 1950s life. And it seems like
It's so
every day.
domestic, typical domestic 50s life.
Yes. Every day is a little bit the same, but they kind of love it. It's like the stability of it. They're so happy. They love it's like you can tell that all the characters, it's exciting that every day we get to wake up, have some morning sex probably. Hubby goes off to work while the wife cleans the house and prepares the Sunday, or not even Sunday, the daily roast and veggies and everything, and a whole 5-course meal, and then the husband comes home and have a great night and they just do it again. And it seems like this amazing life. I mean, it seems kind of relaxing and easy and happy. um, but then things start to change. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, well, it's yeah, so things change when one of the women who lives in Victory starts acting weird. Not really acting weird, but she will just say some weird stuff. And we can tell people do not want her to be saying what she's saying. She's kind of being, cryptic and weird. And like you can tell something's not right with her. And at one point, like they're at is this when they're at Frank's house?
Yeah, it's at
You
Frank's house
see
there.
that her husband is like, this woman, her name is Margaret, and her husband, they're off in another room away from the rest of the party, and he's like trying to get her to take these pills.
Hmm.
She won't take them, and the main character Alice walks in on this situation, and Margaret starts talking to Alice and just saying cryptic things, and her husband like very clearly does not want Margaret to be talking to Alice.
Mhm. It's like they don't want it's very much like the 1950s, I'd say too, where it's like if someone had a mental health problem, it's like hide it, hide it, hide it, don't let anyone see, you know, but there seems like there's something more. It seems like there's a little bit more than just, oh, we are embarrassed and we don't want you to see that the wife is having problems.
It's like Margaret is definitely questioning things,
Mhm.
and they don't want her to be asking those questions.
Mhm. And because that's happening, you can see something has changed inside of Alice, and Alice
Yeah,
starts
it gets
asking
Alice
questions.
asking questions. Yeah.
She starts asking questions, yep, and one of the biggest things that happens is she sees a plane crash in the sky one day in the mountains. And so another important note, when all the men of this housing development go off to work, they drive off kind of like off campus, you could say, of where the houses are into a desert area up towards a mountain. And it's very vague. There's no real description of what they do for work. And it's also some kind of like general understanding that no one is supposed to go there except for the men. Right. Oh my gosh, these yawns. I need some uppers, Natalia. Do you have anything?
Not on me right now.
Not on you. Okay, next time, next time. Um, so yeah, there's like this general understanding that it's like this is the women stay here and don't ever go there.
But it's
And
less
Alice,
of a, like a control thing and more like they try to frame it as like the desert is not safe. Like you're
mhm,
safe here in town and in your homes, but like you can't leave because
mhm.
it's not safe.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like fear mongering of like, oh, like don't leave the places that you're already in because if you go outside, it's dangerous and scary and bad and why would you do that? And it's very like a little manipulative. But again, it's like these women's lives as the wives and mothers of this community, it seems perfect. So of course you're like, why would you leave? But Alice leaves and she basically gets to almost what would be like the headquarters of this victory project. That's all we can really deduce. And then she wakes up and she's back home in her bed. But you can tell she's been through something. And when she tries to talk to her husband about it, he's just deflects. I mean, he's like, "What? No, you're fine." I mean, he never calls her crazy, but he definitely tries to convince her that there's nothing to worry about. You're fine. Don't ask questions. And really, anytime she does ask questions, he kind of evades them. Doesn't ever really give a clear answer.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because she woke up like at home and she was like, "Was I home when you got
mhm.
home from work?" And he was like, "Yeah, you were asleep." And but that's we know that that's probably not what happened.
That's
Like,
not what happened. I think she definitely, you know, she went out to look into this plane crash. And I think along doing that, there probably was a little bit of curiosity of like, okay, what does happen at this victory project headquarters? Um, but from this scene on, she has a doctor come to visit. And, he's trying to give her medicine and tell her she'll be fine. And I think the more people evade her questions and tell her everything's fine and try to give her medicine, you can see that it's just making Alice more and more curious and kind of start to have that appearance of like, oh, she's losing her mind, she's unstable. And we
well,
have some,
you
go
missed
ahead.
an important part. Let's
Mhm.
go back. Why were they trying to give Alice prescription drugs? What did she see? What did she witness?
Oh gosh, I saw the movie like 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna need you to remind me. What
Okay,
did she see?
so Margaret calls Alice at home and she says, "You saw it, didn't you?" Alice
Hmm.
saw a plane crash in the sky, and that was what made her go out into headquarters to try to get some help because she saw a plane go down and she was on the trolley when she saw the plane and the driver was like, didn't see anything. He didn't know what she was talking about. And she asked him if he could take her out to the crash. And he was like, that's not on my route. I can't go. And he was being very weird about it. But, anyways, Margaret calls Alice and is like, you saw it too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And so Alice dismisses her and she's like, this is crazy. You need to stop saying things like this. And then Alice has like a vision in the mirror where instead of seeing her own reflection, she sees Margaret as herself. And she kind of just has like a psychotic break, and all the ladies in the dance class are like, girl, what? And she
Mm-hmm.
runs away, she runs home, and she runs to Margaret's house where she sees Margaret standing on the roof. And
Mm-hmm.
she just looks at Alice and slits her throat and falls to the ground. And before Alice can like run to Margaret, like Margaret is surrounded by these men in jumpsuits, and Alice is grabbed
Mm-hmm.
by these men too and taken in the other direction. And then basically the doctors say that none of this happened and that Margaret fell while she was cleaning the
That's
windows.
right. Yep.
And that's why they gave Alice these prescription drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't take them, of course.
Yes, which were like, you go, girl, when she does not take the meds and don't listen to the doctor. She also ends up stealing a file from the doctor's briefcase about Margaret, but of course, everything is blacked out as confidential. But it definitely confirms for her like something is up, and that Margaret 100% tried to slit her own throat. Um, and then I mean, Natalia, you you just saw the movie more recently than I did, so I actually might need you to fill some things in for me, because I know that at some point Alice tries to convince Jack to run away in the night. You know, let's run away. We need to get out of here. Um, what happens between her witnessing Margaret's suicide versus Alice trying to convince Jack to run away and leave Victory Project with her?
Let me tell you. So, there is a little party for the all the people of this Victory town, Victoryville. I don't know what the official name is, but
Victory Project.
yes, all the people, and including Chris Pine's character and Shelley, his wife, they're all at this party, and um, Jack actually gets a promotion.
Mhm,
And it's interesting. It kind of seems like Frank is literally giving Jack this promotion on the spot. Like he's
mhm,
making up the position because he's like, you're gonna be like in the special team. Like it was
mhm,
like a very made up sounding position. And it kind of seemed like he wasn't giving Jack the promotion to reward him. It was kind of like he was doing it to like mess with Alice.
mhm,
Um, and so basically, while all of this is happening, it's obviously very upsetting for Alice because her husband is getting a promotion while the only thing she wants to do is get the hell out of this weird town and just live a normal life somewhere else. And so she kind of has a breakdown in the bathroom at this party. And her friend Bunny, and Bunny is played by Olivia Wilde, by the way. I don't know if we've said that yet.
mhm,
Bunny comes in the bathroom and is trying to comfort her. And Alice basically explains everything to her. She tells her, like, all the weird things she's been seeing, like all the things about Margaret, even like the file and the briefcase. Like she tells
mhm,
her everything. And Bunny just says, like, you sound just like Margaret, and like
mhm,
your husband is having the best night of his life, and you're in here trying to ruin it all. And he
mhm,
basically just gaslights her.
mhm,
And yeah, that was a big scene. And then sometime later, um, Alice and Jack have a dinner party at their house, And they invite everyone from their cul-de-sac except Bunny and Bunny's husband, and it's kind of like assumed they're not there because of what just happened, in the bathroom
Mhm.
with all of that. And Frank and his wife Shelley actually come to this dinner, and it's like a big deal because these men idolize Frank. Like,
Mhm.
everything Frank does is amazing, and they want Frank's approval. Like, at the party, after Jack gets his promotion, he like does this dance routine for Frank, but it's almost like he's just like helplessly trying to get Frank's like approval and stuff. It was kind of pathetic, and it
Mhm.
was really showing. There's multiple instances of this throughout the movie.
Mhm.
Jack choosing Frank's approval over like Alice's
Mhm.
happiness, and it just shows like Jack wants this cool alpha male's approval more than he wants like his wife who he claims to love. He wants her to be happy.
Mhm.
It's kind of interesting.
It's definitely creepy. It seems like all the men in this town look up to Frank as like this amazing leader who's brought them here and, is guaranteeing them this happy life, but they just have to keep doing what Frank says. But it is very suspicious because it's like we don't know what Frank says. Everything that he ever says, I don't know if you noticed this, but all of his lines, also he's played by Chris Pine, all of his lines whenever he talks about what they're doing at the Victory Project are so vague. He never says anything of detail. Everything's like, we got to keep going. We can't give up. And I don't know about you, but I would constantly listen to his little speeches that he'd have here and there in the movie. And one of the first things that would catch my eye is like, but like, what does he mean not give up about what? Or he'd talk about like, oh, adversary, we have to go up, like, work hard against it. But like what adversary? They all are living in a fairy tale fantasy, amazing life, like amazing town, and I think that's one of the other red flags that is more subtly noticed by Alice is that Frank talks a lot of big talk, but it's all fluff, there's never any actual substance of like, what
Nothing to
are
back
they
up.
doing?
Yeah, it's definitely like fishy
Mhm.
and not adding up.
And it's after this dinner party that Frank and his wife Shelley come over to that he and Alice end up having a sparring match at the dinner table, and it's very uncomfortable for the other guests, the other two couples there. It's uncomfortable for Jack, her husband, and
Well,
that's
Alice has an outburst where she kind of tries to like accuse Frank of, you know, this whole victory thing not being what it seems. But she kind of
Mhm.
does it without having all her ducks in a row and not it's kind of messy, and so
Mhm.
because it's kind of like Frank Frank actually lets Alice know that he's onto her. Like he knows that she knows something.
Mhm.
And like he doesn't try to stop her. He's basically like keep going, like I want to see like how far you
Mhm.
will go with this. And so basically he kind of is expecting Alice to play this chess game with him, but she just goes back out to dinner and flips the
Mhm.
board over. And so he's like, girl. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't make her look very good, to be honest. Like, it does make
Mhm.
her look crazy. Um,
Which I also in that scene, I was really hoping that the other dinner guests were gonna also kind of turn to Frank and be like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I thought in that scene we were gonna have this big rally of people kind of take her side,
I thought so
but instead it's the
too.
opposite. Like you said, they make her look crazy and everyone looks incredibly uncomfortable about Alice.
Yeah,
And after that dinner party, then we get to the part where she's begging Jack to run away in the night. It
yeah.
seems like it's going to happen, but then
He says
instead,
yes.
say again.
he says yes, and
He
then
says yes, and
get in the car.
he seems ready to go. He seemed the way that Harry Styles' character says yes to her about, okay, let's run away. It seems like when you're begging your partner for something and they're not sure, but then they agree because they realize like this is the only thing that will make you happy. So they just have to say yes.
Yeah,
And I think that he really loves her. And so he wants to say yes, but somewhere in between there and them getting almost out of the driveway, those same old kind of like creepy behind the scenes kind of people who scooped up Alice's body and, made Alice hide, or not hide, but they like took her away from when she saw Margaret's body. These same men in these red jumpsuits that come, they take Alice away. She's screaming. I felt like my heart was breaking. You see Harry Styles' character, he looks like his heart's breaking. And she goes and she gets electric shock therapy. And then she comes back, and you think that maybe she's forgotten everything. And then what happens, Natalia?
so she comes back and she seems like she's doing well, and
Mhm,
well, she gets this electroshock therapy, and all of a sudden she starts to see herself as the person standing over the table. She's wearing
mhm,
scrubs. And then we realize she is a doctor in the current day.
mhm,
And instead of her name being Alice Chambers, it's Alice Warren. She's called Dr. Warren. And we basically learn that essentially this whole time the movie has not been set in the 50s at all.
mhm,
It's been set in current day.
mhm,
And it's also not real life, it's a simulation.
mhm,
That it's basically this like incel thing that basically these men, if they were like good applicants, they are able to pay to live in this simulation. And it's kind of a weird deal because these men are paying to be there, but they actually are spending their days in the real world,
mhm,
working their jobs, making money to pay for this program. And so their wives are the only ones who actually get to enjoy this
mhm,
1950s utopia. But then it's, you can argue, is it really enjoyment because, they're in this domestic servitude.
mhm.
And it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in this
Oh
movie.
yeah, no, it's very bizarre. It's like, yeah, it's almost like you would think that the men would want to spend all day, every day in this kind of like simulation. Um, but instead it's almost like they get to be there the least. So we find out that all those times where we thought these 1950s men, husbands were going off to work for the day, what
They
they're
were
actually
leaving
doing,
the simulation.
yeah, they're actually leaving the simulation to go actually work real jobs in the real world in 2022 or whatever present day is, and then come back and enter the simulation again
Yeah.
and then get to act as the husband coming home from work. And it's a very interesting idea. Um, and I mean, there's a lot of articles where people talk about how this could be, but I kind of decided I wasn't going to worry too much about figuring out exactly how it works and makes sense and what the science of it all is, because there's so many movies where sometimes something happens in a plot that you're not supposed to question it too much. Like, I don't know if you, Natalia, have you ever seen the movie Get Out, the Jordan Peele movie?
Yeah.
Do you remember how like it's like they're taking the brains and the brains of the white people and putting them in the bodies of the black people? Like that's one of those movies where like they never explain it, but you're not really supposed to question it and worry about it too much. It's just you're
Right.
supposed to just kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really question it too much with this film, but Alice finally sees the truth and she finally confronts Jack. They have this huge fight. And I mean, do you think it's worth giving up the final spoilers?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so final spoilers. She's able to kill her husband Jack, and she's able to drive away and get to basically halfway up the mountain to the headquarters, which she's been tipped off by Bunny, her friend who she had the spat with in the bathroom.
Bunny's
Bunny
been
had
in on it the whole
so
time.
Bunny's in on it the whole time, and we find out that Bunny chooses to live in this simulation, but she is able to in the last minute choose a side of her friend Alice and give Alice the tip off she needs to figure out how to get out of here. And the movie ends with Frank end up being stabbed to death by his own wife Shelley, which is such a cliffhanger to me because it's just like
We don't
you
know
realize
why Shelley did that. The movie never explains, like, why did Shelley do that? Is Shelley a good guy or a bad guy? Like,
I
there
don't
is
ugh.
no idea how we're supposed to feel about her doing that.
There's a lot of loose ends in this ending that would have been so much more interesting to get those answers because yeah, it's like knowing if she's good or bad, we'll never know. But I at least got the vibe that Shelley was 100% in on it and that she wants to have control now of the simulation of the world. And so she kills Frank, Alice kills Jack, and she does make it to where she needs to get to hopefully be able to exit this world. And there's this split second where she's almost like considering to not go through with it.
Yeah, because she sees like a vision of Jack and he's like asking her to stay, but then she chooses to
Mhm.
ignore it.
Yeah. And she goes, and it's interesting because it's like you can also tell she really loves Jack, but kind of like how he did to her. It's like at the end of the day, it's like she has to choose
He
what's right
betrayed
for her.
her. Like, he loved her, but, you can love someone and do messed up stuff to them, and that doesn't
Mhm.
okay.
But from what we can deduce of the ending, the final scene, it does seem Alice makes it out of this world.
Yeah.
Um,
We hear
and
her
the minute it
gasp
ends,
at the end of the movie. Like, we don't see her wake up, but we, like, hear her waking up.
you hear her gasp. And I mean, I personally am still, I have so many questions because I want to know is she able to find out this organization? Is she able to hunt them down? Because she called the FBI and the police. Like, what happens, But this movie really was more about the adventure of having the psychological drama of being in a weird kind of simulation utopia, but not knowing that and thinking it's real and then finding out it's not. Um,
I think it was
what were,
a commentary on, like, questioning the world around you,
mhm,
not just taking it all at face value.
mhm,
And I think that's something that Olivia Wilde said in interviews. Like,
mhm,
that was the biggest theme she was trying to explore in this movie was that people are really comfortable in their bubbles, and that was what these people were. Like, they were in this bubble and they were not questioning their reality at all. Not even, I'm
mhm,
not meaning like in a conspiracy theory sort of way, but even just, questioning the systems that our society is built upon and, you know,
mhm,
questioning the relationships in your life and all
mhm.
things.
Yeah, no, I mean, the movie definitely gives you a lot to think about. And despite a lot of mixed reviews from critics and even just from the internet, people online, I do think this movie gave me a lot to think about. And I've read before people have said that's usually a good sign. That's a sign that a movie was good because if it leaves you thinking and questioning things and wondering, then I think the movie made a mark, and that's the sign of a good movie.
Yeah.
Um, I
So
am
can
curious.
you say that you're on the bandwagon?
Oh, you're asking me the question. I It's weird because there's this part of me that like wants to be like I'm not, but I also know that I can't lie and I think I am. I think I am on the bandwagon. I definitely went into this movie expecting it to be terrible because of all the past drama that we were talking about. And also I felt like I saw so much flack online about how Harry was apparently a like, terrible actor. And I felt like if anything, I paid more attention to his scenes because I was trying to see if I could catch him, acting bad or doing something awkward or cringy. But I thought he did perfect. He did normal. He was great. I was like, he's not doing bad, and I don't really know what doing amazing looks like. He was doing just fine enough for me, I'd say. But yeah, no, I'm on. It's hard. I'm on the bandwagon for this movie,
Would
but it
you
will be.
tell somebody to watch this? Would you recommend it, I guess?
I think I would recommend it. I would recommend this movie. What I'm not sure if I'm on the bandwagon fan is for future Olivia Wilde movies or future Harry Styles movies. I think I think I will watch future Harry Styles movies because I'm still interested in his life, but I don't think I'd keep watching Olivia Wilde movies. I might take a break. Maybe I'll give like another one a try, but I don't know if I'm ready to watch Booksmart. So I'm curious about you. Are you on the bandwagon?
I liked this movie. It's not definitely not making any like top lists, but like it wasn't bad. Like I walked out of the theater liking it.
Hmm.
And there were things about it I didn't like. Like I didn't think Harry's acting made it wasn't unwatchable or it didn't make the movie bad, but compared to every all of his co-stars, his acting was weak. And
Ooh, dang, you're going
I don't
going for it.
I don't know really if I liked this movie generally because of Florence's performance or it was visually cool or what. Like I don't know if I can't tell if Olivia was a good actor. I mean, not an actor. I can't tell if she was a good director or not because
Hmm.
I'm not really good at like noticing like what makes a good director, but it
Hmm.
wasn't bad. So there's
Yeah.
I can say she wasn't bad. And I liked Booksmart. It was fine. So I think I would watch her next movie if she
Hmm.
did another one. But I will say Harry should stick to singing.
Yeah.
And it not like maybe even if you think he's talented, like if you think he's a good actor, fine, but he is overexposed and like he needs
Hmm.
to stop being in everything and trying to do everything. He has his
I
hands
yeah.
too
I
many.
agree. No, I think he's overexposed, and that's why I don't think I would watch another one of his films.
Yeah.
Um, this movie felt kind of like it felt like the cherry on top to everything that had been going on with the drama
Yeah.
surrounding it.
I'm ready to leave it in the past, honestly.
Yeah, no, I kind of am too. That's the thing is that I felt like I was just so invested in the drama before I saw this movie, and then honestly, since seeing the movie, I haven't really thought about it. Haven't Googled anyone. I'm not following it anymore. I saw the movie and I liked it, and I'm also kind of ready to just leave it at that. Be like, you know what? It was actually a pretty good movie. I'm not going to worry too much about all the plot holes or things. Not like there's lots of plot holes, but all the things that maybe the loose ends. I've kind of just excited to just I've decided to just accept the movie as it is and move on. Oh, I can't hear you.
Don't worry about the loose ends, darling.
Don't worry. Okay, okay. Yeah, you kind of got it. That's the thing. I kind of wish that someone had maybe said that line in the movie. I think that would have made it. Um, Another side thing that I thought was great about this movie was the amount of music samples they had. There, I think they did a really great job of sampling so much 50s music. At times, maybe like a little too much on the nose again, but overall, like pretty good music. I really predict for this film around Oscar season. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a nomination for cinematography and music because
Oh,
really, I think those were two of the best parts of this film.
it gave me, I feel like people are going to have similar attitudes about this movie that they did La La Land because
Mm,
people were, La La Land was polarizing in terms of what people thought about the plot, but everyone could agree that the music and the visuals were great. So I think people are going to be having a similar idea about this movie.
Yeah, actually, I see that. This I get a La La Land vibe. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see in a few months what happens with the award season because it is coming up in a few months.
Right.
But would you recommend this movie to anyone, Natalia?
Yeah, I would. I actually told my mom to see it.
Oh, well, we'll have to see what Carol thinks of it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's it for our show. And speaking of seeing it, anybody listening, if you've seen it or you plan to see it, please let us know. If you plan to see it and you listened, let us know if the spoilers, sucked and you would have rather us talked about it without them. But if you have seen it, please comment where you can to let us know what your thoughts are on this film. Let us know if you thought it totally sucked or if it wasn't that bad or if you loved it. And while you're at it, you might as well like this episode. You can rate us on some of the different listening platforms, and review us and subscribe and keep in touch with whatever else we're doing next. So, sound good, Natalia?
Yep, that's it from me. I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, see you guys next time.
The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Mogosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Katé Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia Katé, and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.